Hello there. Welcome to the another video of software engineering. Today we are going to see Unit 2, Chapter 1 topic again. In this one, we are going to see something about specific tasks, validation tasks. These are the two topics which we are going to cover it. I've already have my pen. Let me check again it is working or not. Okay. So we have got about two topics today to cover it. That is specific tasks and validation tasks. Now, what is specification task? The specification is the final work product produced by the requirement engineering. It is nothing but the final work product or final software what you have delivered. Complete set of requirements, complete set of requirement which is required, complete set of a requirement which is already there. It is formally a form of software requirement specification. I just told you a complete specification task, that is SRS. This is nothing but SRS. It is normally in the form of software requirement specification, SRS. Complete information of what is the software, what are its part, what are its all the requirements are specified. All the subtopics are also are specified. It also serves as a foundation of subsequent software engineering. Further, how you can able to divide, how you can able to move forward, or any enhancement which you want to do it. Further enhancement documentation is also available. It describes the functional performance, how well the system is going to perform, how computer system are going to work, and how well they will able to perform when they are deployed. Means how the memory is used. All those things are it formalize the information, functional and behavior requirement of that project in a graphical format, a graphical or textual format. So this is made it specifies all the different parts in a graphical manner. So specification task is just like a complete SRS which give you complete set of information, and it also give you what further you can enhancement if you want to add. It will give you, it describe all the functional performance, how it is going to work on this one. Now let's move on to other side. Typical content of S software requirement specification, or if I can say it, SRS, correct? Typical content of SRS. So required states, what are the states is going to work out, and what are the modes. Software requirement group by capabilities, which are the functions, which are objects, are all grouped together. What is the state, which state, how many states are there, how many modes are there, and all this requirement which are grouped together like functional, object, software external interface. What are the software like database, just external interface, how the software interact with the outside world, like database servers, interface, SQL server, other module, app, other things. Software internal interface, how software is scalable, and other how where interface, internal interface, how you can able to scalable your software. Means how do you add it, how do you handle your error detection methods with this one. Software internal data requirement, that is data storage, data access, data integrity, how data is represented. Other software requirement, that is your safety, security, privacy, all hardware, software communication, quality, personal training, or specified. And qualification provides that ensure that each requirement has been met, and it give you the documentation that it says that each requirement has been met. Demonstration, what are the test, analyze, inspection part, how the, and each requirement is also traceable. Means you can able to find out where. At the end of this slide I can able to show you the diagram where how you can able to trace the diagram. So typically content of SRS is requirement states, requirement group by capabilities, software external interface, how database servers and everything, software internal interface, how the data is scalability, others error handling, software internal requirement, that data storage and other things. Let's move on to other part, that is called validation testing, or validation task. Validation task. During validation, the work of product produced as a result of requirement engineering are assessed for quality. Means as we know, when we are going to test it, we are going to see what is the quality is there, or is the requirement fit and it is intended to do what the work we have given to it. is that producing the required output. It is what we are intended to do, and it's going to fit in our part. It is going to do the requirement. The specification is examined to ensure that all software requirements have been stated ambiguously. Means what software has to do it. It has to specify that all requirement has to do it. Inconsistency, omission, and error have been detected and corrected. If there is any inconsistency, omission, and error which have been detected, you have to correct it. Work product are conformed with very standard procedures and everything. Then there is a formal technical review team, that is FTP, which serve as a primary requirement validation task. So what is the meaning of FTR or FTP? This FTP, formal technical review team, which serve as the primary requirement validation mechanism, which includes software engineers, customers, user, and others. Each participant bring the unique perspectives of the view, helping to identify the potential issue in viewing the requirement. Any issues, because there are software engineers, there are customers, then users, all the stakeholders will sit together and review the meeting, review the requirement, and see the different view. Are they going to give you the required or met or output or not? Validation requirement phase, part one. Is each requirement consistent with overall objective of the system? The points is each requirement consist with the overall objective of the system? Purpose, to ensure that every requirement contribute directly towards the ultimate goal of the project. Means it has to give you that each requirement should maintain, it has to give you the required output. It are directly or indirectly related to our product. Maintainability, alignment with the system intent to produce. So it is directly related to our project, and it has to give you the required output. Have all the requirement are specified at the purpose proper level, that is abstract level, that is to do some work environment. Purpose requirement should be direct, detailed enough. What are the actions are required? What are the actions are in our are actionable? What are how they are traceable? Yet we have to give the detailed solution also for that one. The balance sheet should be prepared. Means you have to give it all the requirement at the top. All the requirement have been specified properly and with the abstract level, and all the requirement has to give on a proper way. So validation requirement, each requirement overall objective has to met. Each requirement is directly, indirectly related to our project, or the next point, each requirement should specify the proper level of abstraction. What part it is doing, where it is required, and how it is, what are the action it is taking, what are the traceable it is going, and what are the other part of it. Now, other validation requirement, part one will continue. Is the requirement really necessary? That is represented on. We focus on which are more important. Focus on essential part of the project. Every requirement should be focused on essential part of the requirement. Now, if I am designing a front page of my project, correct? Now, what are the essential part? I have to be all the details of my organization should be mentioned. What are what do you call what are the, if I'm designing a website for my engineering college, then all the details of my engineering college, or all the what is the mission of the department and everything. What is the mission of the college? What is the vision of the college? Who is the requirement? Where my college is located? And all the tabs should be available. So each requirement should be focused on essential. Each module or each tab which is specified here should have an essential part of it, and this should be directly or indirectly related in our website. Each requirement bonded and ambiguous, to ensure that all stakeholders, they have to understand each requirement what they are going to do it. That meaning is ambiguous and bonded, means they are commonly understood and they are doing some part. Does does each requirement have attribute? If that requirement has attribute, they have to explain clearly. Specification, from where source, what is the source of this one? Each requirement is noted down and explained properly. Do any requirement have a conflict? If that conflict is there, you have to modify and you have to rectify it. Otherwise, what will happen at the later part of that, it will cost us more, because this requirement is getting conflict with the other. So in these slides, the requirement which are necessary has to be focused. Each requirement has to be bonded and ambiguous. And the next part is that does if any requirement has an attribute, that has to be explained properly, and if any requirement has a conflict, that has to be clearly explained or identified. And the later part, it's going to be very difficult for the requirement process. Validation requirement 2 is requirement is achievable, and in the technical is achievable in the technical environment, means any technical point of view it has to be reachable. Each requirement must be testable. Once it is implemented, each requirement should be implemented. It is testable when it is implemented. When you are implementing, you have to be tested. Does requirement properly reflect all the information, behavior? Completely clearly picture should be given to us, because requirement should give model properly reflecting information, function, behavior of the system that is meant. That is nothing but your complete information should be given to us. And requirement should be partition, means it has to give us all the hierarchy of the organization, modularity, abstract levels, all this has to be given by the requirement. Which requirement has a hierarchy, which requirement goes to the modularity, what is the abstract level of that requirement has to be given it. So in this one, each requirement should be achievable in technical part, and once it is implemented, it has to be tested. It is properly explained clearly all the behavior of the model. If what do you mean by behavior? If some input is occur, then what will be the output of it, correct? So you are changing the environment in that part. And the next part is that partition. What do you mean by partition? If any requirement has a hierarchy part, that has to be clearly modified and clearly explained. Requirement pattern, simplify the requirement model. Pattern should be used, properly verify it. Pattern should be used in properly verify it, correct? The next part, requirement management task. What do you mean by requirement management task? During requirement management, the project team, means the team perform a set of activities, identify, control the track requirement. We are keeping track of the requirement. Each requirement is going to track the activity, ensure the requirement constantly managed and any change properly due to management. Each requirement are tracked, identify, control, and each requirement are tracked. Any change in the requirement at that time should be mentioned. Each requirement is assessed with a unique identifier. Unique new name is given to it. A new name is given to it. Requirement that plays in a table, a traceable table, which is always available. And this table are stored in the database. And at any given time, you can able to refer it. What is the requirement? Who has developed it? What are the parts? What are the input? What is the output? And everything. Subgroup, dependencies, subsystem, interface, everything. This requirement traceable is also placed in SRS requirement. So it is nothing but a table which specifies each requirement, what is the part of it, where it is, and how of it. And we have to mention that it is not going to change over the period of time. This is how it is required. This is requirement name, and this is its part. Requirement 2, requirement 3, and it is also in requirement 2, requirement 3, and A01 is the batch which is going to do it. A2 is going to this part, A3 is going to this part, this one, this, and everything is going. This is generic traceable table which is mentioned here. Okay, so what is requirement management? It is a traceable table which keep it, and it is stored in the table. Each requirement get a point here. Then validation requirement is it is a technical point of view, where we keep all this record. When it is implemented, it is implemented in a technical manner. Then focusing, then should be implemented and everything. Validation, overall objective of the project is given. Validation task is that fit and indented. FTP team will be available here. I'm just revising myself. I'm just revising in the video. Technical content of the software requirement specification, which we have already seen. Thank you very much. I'll stop it here.